in 300 hours by here.
At 7 a.m. Very long flight.
이 누가 한 거노?
배치가
야, 이거 누가 한 거야?
First of all, thank you for being here. Thank you for coming to Korea and then being in our studio, WRD studio. And
My
also,
pleasure.
I'm sure you are really tired after a long flight.
Oh yeah, I need to say thank you also for you for giving the opportunity of
Yeah,
being
sure.
here.
It's our pleasure. Run the blog, the Korean
Yeah.
car blog. So would you introduce yourself to
Yeah.
WRD audience?
Yeah, my name is Jose.
Jose.
I'm from Spain. I was a kid. I was always related to cars. Okay, was always playing with cars. I like everything that was four wheels. So having Legos and making cars and playing in the park, whatever.
So we are basically all the same. And then, some people ask like, since when do you like the car or what made you like the car? But we don't remember.
No,
because,
I don't
right?
remember.
Yeah, just from the birth, we
Yeah.
just love it ever since.
I also remember my mom telling me that I was in the park like crazy, pursuing the other kids that has cars to play with them. So
I know you love cars, but like almost all cars, we are very well aware you love Korean cars. How did you love for Korean automobile developed, started?
all started in 1998. My parents bought a Kia Suma in Spain. That car and also the brand arrived to the country 2 years earlier. It's like now with the Chinese cars, there was like a cheap cars. We'll bet about the reliability. But my parents were comfy about the car. They said that they have a Mazda engine. They bought the car. And I started that when I have time at my friend's house who has internet. I asked to have a few minutes just to surf on the website about Kia and starting to look for Hyundai too. And it was spending my time on the website looking for the cars that they have here in Korea that wasn't available in there. So that's where all started. Then, I grew up. I take my parents' Kia Suma for 2 years after getting the license. And I bought a 2007 Ceed, the first generation Ceed. That was my first car. Then I met my colleague Eric. He is from Dallas, from United States. And I met him in a Kia forum in Spain and showed his Kia Rio that was fully modified. Because, as you know, in United States, you can do a lot of modification. This is not the same in Spain. And I was starting talking with him, and we felt that we have the same passion about the brands. So from that time, we started talking. People don't really know about these brands. They still think that they are Chinese trash. So what we can do for that? So that was the idea of the blog started. At the beginning, we started in Spanish, but after a year, something like that, that was 2010, we changed it to English. We think that we will have a broader audience. Until September 2023, was working in the blog and also in my personal job too. I was working at a Kia sales.
Oh.
Yeah. Thank you to the blog and also my work at Kia, I started to have a relation with the Korean people that was working for the company, for Hyundai and for Kia. And thank you to them, I have an opportunity to work at Kia headquarters in Madrid, Spain.
Oh. So are you still working for Kia or?
No, not anymore. Starting September 2023, I'm working 100% on the blog. And it's the best thing I ever do. I want to do it from a long time ago, but I never feel so sure about if I can live with that.
Right.
So I always was keeping my job, but my job was killing me at the same time. So was cutting time from working to the blog. So that was like a chain, a bad chain. I have a trouble at my work and I decided to quit. And okay, I will put all my efforts on the blog and see what happens. Yeah.
That's really amazing. A
Yeah.
big decision in your life.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. We are always surprised about the fast news updates, the speed of the updates. And then like, how did this guy know all this story?
Well,
Even like in Korea, we don't know. So we thought it's really run by Korean person or Korean company, we were really surprised that you are based in Spain and your colleague is in Dallas. So
Well,
how do you get all the news so fast?
I should say this is a secret, but let me talk to you about something. At first, all people always think that the Korean car blog is run by Koreans.
Yeah.
So when I said that we are Spanish, my colleagues from Dallas, they are really surprised about working at the blog. We made a lot of friends from Korea, a lot of people that took spy pictures around, also from Europe or from United States too. The good thing about Korea is in here we make a very good relationship. So the only thing they ask me, to have back is just have a back link of site, his YouTube channel, and that's all.
And also from your website, I read that you prefer Kia since you had like Shuma
Yeah,
and Ceed before. Kia and Hyundai, they were totally separated company before, but now it's been almost more than 20 years that they are under the same group.
yeah.
But how do you see the difference between two brands, and do you still prefer Kia, or what kind of character could you like define each brand?
For Kia, from a few years back to here, they look like a more dynamic and passionate design, and Hyundai has more a classic design. But I think after the launch of Hyundai N, this is changing. But I was very surprised of the Ioniq 5N. I was driving in the circuit and it was amazing. The best experience I have ever.
And also Hyundai and Kia, they have grown up in global market
Yeah.
very fast. So what made them grow so fast in your perspective?
I think it's the design, reliability, and a mix of price and quality.
Oh, and for also among in your blogs,
Yeah.
is there any memorable news or posts?
Every time I publish about, it's like people is going crazy. For example, G70, Palisade, Tucson too, and then Stinger, of course. But I think the most crazy post I ever do is about the Envision 74.
And also, this is your second time in Korea.
Yeah.
Have you had a chance to experience like Korean car culture, or like how is it different from Spain or other countries? Do you think?
Not yet. I don't have the opportunity yet. But I think if I made a comparison between Spain and United States, I think it could be the same from Spain to here. Because every time I see some posts on Instagram about Korean modified cars, they have huge modifications, are not allowed within Spain.
People then prefer just buy performance model from the brand rather than modify yourself.
Yeah. They prefer to just buy Hyundai N, Volkswagen GTY.
It's surprising to me because I see many like Spanish racing driver
Yeah.
and also motorcycle rider.
Yeah.
So, and you guys are really good at motorsport. So I saw like the infrastructure, and then there are so many people who are in the racing.
And currently, even in Spain, you don't have hottest hatch an affordable price. So, for example, i20N is out, i30N is out, Volkswagen Polo GTI is out. We only have the Golf, and the price now is like 42,000. So it's very difficult to entry in the hottest models from Spain.
That's sad for Spain also. For
Yeah.
other countries, many performance models are killed.
Yeah. You don't have in Spain. We don't have the Clio anymore.
Oh.
Clio Sport, Clio RS is not available too. Yeah.
So what do you think about this trend changing, and then what is your future plan? Are you
Maybe the present is in YouTube
Right.
already, but the blog keeps working well. I'm a little bit shy to appear on the camera, so I keep postponing. And well, the next time I will do a YouTube video with my face, and I keep postponing. But well, this is my first time in YouTube, so maybe it's like the beginning of something.
Oh, okay. We are really happy and honored to be with your first
Yeah.
appearance on YouTube. I mean, later on, if you became really a big influencer on YouTube,
Yeah.
maybe you can share this video.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, I was
My
like
beginnings.
that before. Oh, also, there are still many people who love cars from their young age, and then,
Yeah.
of course, they want to like write about car or taking photo or being on YouTube about covering the car and make living out of it. and then you are already there.
Yeah.
So do you have
Yeah.
any advice or comments to those
Well,
young
the only
children?
thing I will say is if you love that and you have the passion, keep going because the road is long and hard, but if you follow your dreams, you will get it.
You told me, you were the car guy from the
Yeah,
beginning.
yeah.
So like, do you have any specific memory, or did you have any like favorite car back in the day? Or
At that time,
was it always Kia? I don't think so, right?
no. At the beginning, well, I started playing Gran Turismo,
Of course.
of course.
What was your first Gran Turismo?
The one,
The one.
yeah.
Wow.
the model that I liked at that time was a Skyline. At the beginning, I was playing with the Japanese cars.
Of course.
Yeah, but then they go like down. Currently, in these years, they are very low in terms of. I think only Toyota is doing some sports cars, and well, they need to share with BMW to make
the
it
Supra.
through it.
Right.
I started losing that fun and getting the Korean wave.
And also, since you are living in Europe and born and raised in Europe, did you like any European car back in the day?
Difficult.
Difficult? Is it because even some of my friends, some
Yeah.
people say, "Oh, you guys like Japanese car only," to my channel, to us.
Yeah.
But I think at the same time it's the generation thing, because like our generation grown up with the Gran Turismo
Yeah.
before we get the license. So
The thing is, European cars, for example, if you go for French cars, they are so bad, not reliable at all. So
Okay.
people don't like it.
Mhm.
Okay, people that really know about cars,
Mhm.
they don't ever buy a French car. Okay, and then from my point of view, Volkswagen is overpriced. Premium brands, Mercedes, BMW, Audi. So it's not in my budget.
So, and as a kid, like, how did you play with cars? Like, did you draw, or did you like taking photo of it, writing the review, or
Yeah, just riding.
just
First riding, I started with a friend that was taking pictures of the cars. Then I started by myself and then riding.
So, do you still drive Ceed?
The second generation.
Second generation.
Yeah. The second generation Ceed has a very atemporal design. So after, well, the car was 2013, it's still looking good. I had the first generation and then I got the second generation from the dealer. People that exchange it.
And also the Shuma your parents bought.
Hmm.
Do you have like special memory with it?
Since was a kid, was was the first car I can actually drive. So that was amazing.
Yeah, some of my colleagues also, they got the car from their parents. And one of my colleague, Nakji, he described his experience. Like, he started from the back seat, and then the
Yeah.
passenger seat, and then driver's seat. So it's
Yeah.
a really special thing. And then they have very special attachment with the car. So they still keep their car and then modify it here and there. But they are like, they don't want to sell the car. They want to keep the car like forever. So you really started from the back seat, passenger seat, driver's seat.
Yeah,
That's
was the
amazing.
same. Yeah.
You must love Kia, because when you change the car, usually like they go to different brand or different model.
At that time, I was working at a Kia dealer, so it was easy to have a Kia. So, for example, now I'm in love with the current generation Grander, but well, we don't have in Europe.
Also, like, what kind of Korean car do you want to have in Europe that they are not selling in Europe? Because it's funny that we always want to have the cars,
Yeah, yeah.
especially Ceed,
Yeah.
we don't get in Korea.
Yeah.
Or I-20.
For me, I
In
will
Europe.
say Grander.
Ranger.
I will say K8, which is nice. I like sedans, as you see. We're starting to have Genesis, but
Genesis.
only Germany, Switzerland, and United Kingdom. Not yet in Spain. But
So-
Genesis models are nice too.
Okay, so I think for the interview, we are good. So
Okay.
thank you again for your time.
You're welcome.
We were always wondering, like, who is behind Korean Car
Yeah.
Blog. Now I finally see you.
Yeah.
So it's really great, and then it's great to know the thoughts behind. So enjoy your time in Korea.
Thank you.
Yeah, and come
Will do.
again, and then
Yeah,
can meet again.
I hope so.